Ballgame, NorthJerseySports.com's original multimedia series talking all things basketball across North Jersey. This is the Jambo edition, the Bergen County Jamboree, Oscar F. Thompson Memorial Bergen County Jamboree for 2019. I am Corey Doviak, being joined by my illustrious panel of North Jersey Hoops Insiders, starting with the man who the show is named after. He is Richie Ballgame Barton. What's going on, Richie B?
Not much, Corey. Tournament got started. A bit of an interesting start. Look forward to talking about it tonight.
Yes, you were at a couple of those games. Actually, I was at the girls' tournament, so we'll rely on your first-hand accounts. And we bring back our favorite, a guy who really made his mark on this program last year. I mean, in the Phil Simms interview, hard-hitting, and just all year long in the Jambo. He is the liaison, the coach's liaison to the Bergen County Coaches Association, and also the highly successful, highly respected, and highly touted head coach of the Ridgefield Park Fightin' Scarlets. He is Chris Gaskin. What's going on, Chris?
Hey, guys. How are you? I'm glad to be back, reliving my days of shining Phil shoes. That was my favorite part of all last year's shows, and I'm looking forward to talking about the Jamboree this year. It should be a great couple weeks of basketball.
Yes. Now, the tournament has been set. The first round, the play-in round, has been played. We'll get to that stuff. We'll get to that action on the court as the tournament moves forward into the round of 16, coming up next Saturday, both at Northern Highlands High School and at Tenafly High School. We will talk about some of the action that happened. As I mentioned, Richie Ballgame was on hand in Bergenfield to cover both of those games. But this Jamboree so far is more about what's going on outside of it. In the group chats, group text messages going around, in the committees, various committees, the Jambo Committee, the Bergen County Coaches Association, all of these kind of things. There's a lot of unrest, and normally I would love this, like, hey, we got a controversy, let's talk about it. But this year, to me, it feels different. It feels raw. It feels nasty. People seem really angry, and I hate it when we use those words to discuss high school sports. I mean, it's not in the true spirit of the event. The problem, I think, is, the Jamboree is one of the most tradition-rich and revered county tournaments, any sport in all of the state. And it's got its traditions, and it's got its foot in tradition, and then it has its other foot in the new brand of high school sports. And the Jambo has been slow to change, so it has led to a real, I'll use the word again, nastiness around how it should proceed and how it should go forward. One of the guys caught up in this mess is the liaison, the coach's liaison to the Bergen County Coaches Association. He just happens to be right here on the show with us. Chris, what are your feelings? No, because I know, I know you've been held accountable for a lot of things that you should not be held accountable for. You're not a voting member of the Jamboree Committee. You are the representative of the coaches, but you don't vote. So, why don't you just give us what you want to say at this point?
You're using some pretty strong words there to describe. I guess you're in contact with a lot of people. There's no secret that there are a lot of coaches, specifically Big North coaches, who believe that some change is certainly required. I was able to broker a few meetings this summer between the coaches and between the Jamboree Committee to allow both sides to express their concerns and thoughts about things going forward. And I felt as if some good steps were made. Unfortunately, you guys have the pulse of a lot of things going on. And obviously, by your introduction to this topic, obviously you're hearing that there's some unhappy people out there. I know that my role as the liaison is to attend the executive committee meetings, to bring up any basketball-related issues. I brought these issues to the executive committee. They know that the Coaches Association has concerns, and my feelings is that all of this will be finally addressed. Unfortunately for the current edition of the Jamboree, but I think whatever issues there might be, obviously things are going to continue to be discussed at the end. My other roles just include to be in the room during the Jamboree seating meeting, along with Mike Sabula, the head basketball coach at Hasbrook Heights, who's also the co-liaison, to make sure that every team is spoken about and every team is given a clear consideration. I am not a voter. I'm basically more of an observer in any sense. And then the rest of my role as the liaison is to set up and to run the all-county meeting, and then to go to the all-county dinner and introduce the players. Other than that, anytime Bergen County coach has an issue, if they bring it to me, I bring it forward to the executive committee, and then they proceed forward how they feel it needs to be proceeded with.
Right. So, again, you don't vote. You didn't have, there were some what's the word? Controversy with the way the tournament was seeded this year, but that's not what bothers me, because that comes up year in and year out. I mean, and that's the way a tournament's supposed to be. Everybody loves the NCAA tournament, and before it starts, how many times do you talk about, how this team get left out? To me, that's the great thing about sports. Like, those discussions and everything else. Yeah, it stinks for the teams that are affected by it in that particular year, but those things come and go in cycles, and you wish that nobody would walk away disappointed from the seating meeting and everything else. But those are one-off things. The things that I'm talking about more here, and when I say it's nasty and the words I use and stuff, it's not that I don't feel like there are valid points being made by Big North coaches. I do, and it's not like I don't feel that there's valid points being made by the other powers that be, the Jambo committee, the Bergen County Coaches Association. I do. But it just seems to me like this year it's not being done. I don't want to say in good faith, but it's not. It's being done with an edge that is not. I don't think. I think that people need to step back from the ledge and let's talk and work this out as adults, because when adults get in the middle of kid stuff, it never works out well.
Well, obviously, you've been in contact with some people who certainly. Given you their thoughts in a very strong manner. Me personally, I try to spend my day today and try to get away from it. But it's a shame that and I do admit I feel terrible, because I know there's a lot of discourse. I know there's a lot of unhappiness out there. But again, it's I just think eventually that. Everybody's going to put their heads together, and hopefully this great tournament, and that's what it is. It's a tradition-rich, long-term, one of the greatest tournaments this state hosts on a yearly basis. Hopefully everything can be rectified and worked out, and in the years to come, we'll have less and less disharmony and unhappiness, and maybe everybody can find a way to keep this tournament exactly in the high regards that it should be.
Right. Let's not lose sight of that. Richie B, I haven't given you a chance to speak. Go ahead.
And boy, do I have a lot to say. I mean, here's the bottom line: the Bergen County Jamboree is the best county tournament. You know the way it's run. It has been for decades.
Yeah. And
you know why? Because of the exclusivity of it.
Yeah.
When it was going back to 70s, 80s, 90s, even the early 2000s, it was really, really hard to get into the Jambo.
Yeah.
And I understand the Big North coach's point, what they're trying to say to a point, because the 650 rule has really kind of hamstrung them, where, they feel NJIC teams that are not necessarily worthy get in. But here's the bottom line. There are some teams that got left out. Personally, I don't even how many teams are in the Jamboree this year? 21. 21.
Yeah.
There should be 16 every year. And if you're not in the 16, too bad. I mean, that's life. Move on. I just don't. I just think teams that didn't get in, that had a gripe, didn't get in and shouldn't have gotten it. And you have to. You could schedule all you want, but you have to. Like, oh, we played a close game against. You have to beat teams.
Yeah.
If you beat teams, then there's nothing to worry about.
Go ahead,
Once
Chris.
again, ladies and gentlemen, that's Richie Ballgame.
I think there should be less teams in Jambo. I think it should be super exclusive again, and that's what makes it exciting. The round of 16 games, do it like the girls' tournament did. 2 gyms, people would go nuts. They would stay there all day.
Hey,
to see
Chris,
all the round of 16 games.
What's that? Decision day is an idea that I feel like should be explored a little bit further. Richie, your point, and again, this is what I'm saying. Richie's point is he liked it when it was more exclusive. Big North coaches want it to be more inclusive. They are entitled to that opinion. I am not sitting here. I'm not. Go ahead.
Let's be honest. A couple of those leagues are from top to bottom, there are teams that that every night are facing Jamboree teams every night, and there's a couple leagues in that Big North where, for sure, some teams that were going to struggle night in and night out could be some of the better teams in the other conferences, and that's the
there's also an enrollment issue too. Most of these Big North schools, people are going to point to, say, a Woodridge or an Elmwood Park who took it on the chin and got beat pretty badly in the first time. We're going to say, oh, well, they didn't belong in. Sure they did, because it's relative to what your league is. I mean, when you have the enrollment that's double the size of one of these smaller schools, it's apples and oranges. You can't just say because they played.
I know, but that's what the Big North coaches are saying. It's apples to oranges. You can't compare our schedule to their schedule, and they're 100% right. And that's why, Richie, I think if you wanted to get to 16 teams, what you got to do is get rid of the 650 winning percentage, and you pick the best 16 teams. But I don't think that's not on anybody's radar. That's not going to happen, and that's not the way.
Or you guys tell me
it's not going to happen. Or have 16 teams and have it on and say, all right, top 2 JSC teams get in, or whatever.
You guys give me your opinion. Bergen Catholics and Don Bosco's are starting to play these national schedules.
Yeah.
What happens if they're under 500? Are they going to be?
They don't get in.
Should they be?
They don't get in.
They
don't get in because they don't deserve it.
I don't.
But
more and more teams are playing tougher schedules.
You have to beat teams. You have to win.
Yeah, no. Yeah, again, we have to cut this off because
winning percentage.
Yeah, but we have to cut this off because this is the exact merry-go-round that has led to this predicament that we are. Richie, you can make valid points on your side. Correct, you do have to win games. Chris, you can make valid points saying yes, they've played a harder schedule. What do you know? And then there's the other side of it that some Big North teams will always be better than certain NJIC teams, so therefore they feel that they should be included. But again, nobody can be absolutely right, and adults have to sit down together at the table and find the way forward, because we could sit here and everybody knows the issues. These issues are all out there for everybody to discuss and have been discussing them. I went to a Bergen County Coaches Association meeting and gave a proposal. I mean, and that's me. Who cares what I have to say? But I care enough about it, and I told a couple people that I will have them on separately on one of these shows to discuss exactly what the issues are. I didn't even want to get into it this deeply tonight on this show because really,
I don't want to get into it at all. I agree with you.
Because in this forum, and with 3 people who really have no power to change anything, everybody knows what the issues are. They're all out on the table, and let's enjoy this Bergen County Jamboree this year as the way it's presently constituted, and then let's see what happens if the Bergen County Coaches Association takes up the mantle after this thing happens and after this year's over, like was decided to do, and revisit the situation and see if we can all come up with a better. So not me. I'm out. Richie's out. We're just we're innocent bystanders in this whole thing. We do care about the tournament as a whole and everything else, but the adults have to get together in a room and come up with a better system that is not going to make bad feelings around one of the best tournaments in high school basketball. Certainly one that we all love, because if we didn't, we wouldn't even care about this stuff. It's crazy. It's the Bergen County Jamboree. Let's get it together, boys.
Let's
All right.
talk basketball, please. I'm tired of that stuff.
Yes, done. All right. So 15 minutes of it at the beginning of the show. Richie Ballgame in attendance here.
Cut that off. We'll cut that off.
Yeah, right. But let's get
it. That hits the floor of the edit room.
Edit button. All right. So let's talk about number 1 seed obviously Don Bosco, number 2 seed Bergen Catholic, number 3 seed Ramapo, and number 4 seed St. Joe's. And I think Chris, there's a separation once you get below that. I mean, Ramapo and Bergen played that great game the other night. Joe's has proven to be back. They're on the level. Bosco is Bosco, defending champion, everything else, and Bergen Catholic is loaded with talent. So I think by Ramapo playing with Bergen Catholic, not winning, but playing with them the other night, staying on the floor with them in Franklin Lakes, gives some hope for the public schools, and I'm really looking forward to see what happens as the tournament moves forward. But obviously, we have 4 teams that are probably capable of winning this thing. Do you agree?
As a public school coach, I mean, Ramapo is certainly a team that you're very, you hang your hat on in a sense, and you really are thrilled with good things going on up there, and hope that they can keep going. But there's some other teams. Look, I play Ramsey there in my league. They're tough.
Yep.
Dumont is a much improved team. Ridgewood, you can never count Ridgewood out, and so many others. But it's Saddle River Day. I saw them play. I mean, you're going to talk about each of these teams. But yeah, you're right. I mean, Bosco and Bergen, they can play the Rainies and the Patrick schools and all these schools that most of us can't or shouldn't or couldn't. So I mean, it'll always be interesting to see if them playing those teams puts them on such a higher level than they already are against the normal Bergen County squads.
Yes, and I don't mean to say that there are only 4 good teams in the county. What I'm saying is just that
right.
the 4 with a legitimate chance to win the whole thing. Because listen, if any of the others get to the quarterfinals or the semifinals, I mean, it's a big story, and I'm looking forward to covering it too. So,
listen, I was raving all summer about Fairlawn. I saw them a few times this summer. They were everybody I was talking to. I think Kyle Sabella and his squad. They've come so far in the past couple of years. This Bergen Tech team, very good. I mean, there's a lot of Pagoda. Pagoda's a tough team.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good basketball out there. Mawa, obviously, when they're healthy and they're knocking down threes, they can shoot it as well as anybody. So yeah, all right, fine. Bergen, Bosco, Ramapo, Joe's, no doubt about it. But the other teams, then you start getting into that situation where you never know. Are you going to be that Cinderella team? Every year we have one.
Yep. No, it's true. And I saw Ridgewood play Ramapo a good game in Ridgewood. They didn't get blown off the floor. They didn't embarrass themselves, and they were playing without one of their better players too. Who was out with a shoulder injury, so that bodes well for the Maroons. I think they're very good. I haven't seen Teaneck this year, which for me, usually I see them a few times before the Jambo starts because they're just. But with the change of leadership there, and I just haven't gotten a chance to see them yet. But I'm sure they're a talented squad. They're the number 5 seed. They could certainly sneak up and beat somebody. Richie B, what are your thoughts? Fairlawn too, Chris. I couldn't agree with you more. I saw them early in the season. They beat Wayne Valley in Fairlawn, and they play. Fairlawn plays in, for a public school league. They're off the radar in Bergen County, but really, when you're talking about Wayne Hills, Wayne Valley, West Milford, and Fairlawn in the same league, like winning on the road in that league should count twice because you got some tough places to play and some very good home court advantages with some very good teams guarding them too. So, Richie B, your thoughts?
I think the same thing holds for Bergen Tech. I think both of those teams play so many out-of-county teams that they kind of fly under the radar, and it's unfortunate. But
do you think that hurt them in the seating meeting?
I do.
Well.
Do you not want to talk about that, Chris?
that question was posed for you, Corey.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was to you, Corey.
I do think it, and for no other reason than it's hard to, like I was covering the girls' tournament yesterday. Same thing with Immaculate Conception. They were the number 8 seed. They don't play any Bergen County schools. So how are you supposed to know? Fairlawn, same thing. So you know how good Wayne Valley is. You know how good Wayne Hills is. But the schedule is not filled when you go to head-to-head and all those tiebreaker things, and I think it does hamstring them a little bit. But, I think maybe, for me, the biggest seeding issue in the tournament, and I do want to make this point, Chris, and we talked about it right after the seeds were released, I think if you take away the controversy of who didn't make it, didn't make it, whatever, and I really feel like there was one team that really feels like they were slighted, you can make the case either way. So I don't feel like it was the world's highway robbery, and I wouldn't have been upset if they made it in, talking about Tenafly here. But, you take that away, and I think maybe the only other thing that you could really talk about was you could have made maybe Fairlawn an 8 seed. 7, 8, 9, and 10. With Dumont the 9, Ridgewood the 8, Ramsey the 7, and Fairlawn the 10. Excuse me, you could have flipped them around in a bunch of different ways. I don't know how it played into with who played who and, if that came into effect. But if that's what you're talking about, then I think the committee did a really good job of seeding the tournament overall. And, and I think it makes for some great games here because I think Dumont-Ridgewood is intriguing. I've seen both of those teams. I think Fairlawn-Ramsey is also very intriguing as well. I haven't seen Ramsey. I have seen Fairlawn. Richie B., what do you think?
I think you're right with the 7, 8, 9, 10. You could have kind of flip-flopped those around, and I think Saddle River Day at the 6 kind of threw a wrinkle into everything that no one really expected coming in the season and the seeding league.
Well, they are sitting at 15-0.
Yeah, like Cresskill. Chris, what was Creskill's seed last year? They came in undefeated.
Well, your good friend Mike. Oh no, I can't say that. Some people over there weren't too happy with their seed last year. What'd they get?
yeah, you're right. Maybe this isn't a 1-year controversy we're talking about here.
4 or 5 last year.
Yeah, right? And they made it to the semifinals. So they went as far as and this year your undefeated NJIC team is the 6. So, and Saddle River Day comes in without the cachet of a Creskill.
Yeah, Ramsey certainly could have made a claim for that spot. So obviously Teaneck, so obviously Ridgewood. Don't forget Westwood. They are such a tough, gritty team who plays probably, in my opinion, the best defensive team in the county. They probably take more charges than any team in Bergen County, and they just do their job so well. That's going to be Saddle River Day versus Westwood is going to be that's round 2. They played earlier in the year to I believe a 2-point game. So that's going to be a really interesting game.
Yep. Go ahead, Richie.
Well, didn't I just make the point?
Oh, you did. That was your point. All right. Yeah. Well, and here's it turns into from great. I always say, they talk about the same thing with the NCAA tournament. First rounds are about great stories. Like I love the fact that Pagoda won its first Jambo game. Now, I'm a Group 1 guy. I played against, the great Pagoda team of 1990. So, for me, that's very nostalgic. And then to see that they won their first Bergen County Jamboree game in almost 20 years. Granted it was against Woodridge, another NJIC school, but great to see Jay Mahoney back in the round of 16 of the Bergen County tournament. And also, some kids who get overlooked here that have had great careers, like Jordan McCoy, Richie. You covered him. I covered him earlier in a game against Wayne Hills. The Dwight Englewood senior who, picked a non-public school as a freshman, went through, stayed all 4 years, did not transfer. They had some kids who left. He stuck it out. He's got a Division I scholarship. He's going to Merrimack. And it was not, it's...
Yeah, are they... They're D2. Are they going D1?
Yes, they're making the transition. D1. Yeah, they're making the transition to Division I.
Nice.
Yep. So he's going to be in on the ground floor there, and he's a nice, Richie B, you saw him in the opening round. I saw him against Wayne Hills. And I like to watch him play because he's not a complainer. He's not a boisterous player. Just goes about his business, and he's put together a really good career here in Bergen County.
No doubt about it. And, does a little bit of everything. He's an excellent rebounder, too. Mm-hmm. Didn't have the best shooting night, but, no matter what, he contributes on both ends. And they're, they're an interesting team to watch, especially because they've been so high-flying over the last couple of years, putting up, scores generally in the 70s and 80s. And in the last couple of games, holding Sea Caucus to 25 points, holding Glen Rock to 26 points. That's the part of the game that was kind of suspect. And if they could put, what they've done offensively earlier in the year to what they've done defensively, in the past week, that becomes a really, really tough team. It's just a matter of, stringing those two together and putting full court together.
And I will also say that Bob Rudolph, the head coach of Dwight Englewood, is one of the true gentlemen and good guys in Bergen County basketball. Chris, do you agree with that?
Oh, what a nice guy, and he's a Met fan too. So nothing but respect for Bob. Really nice, and that's the word. He's a gentleman. He's approachable, and he's a class act, no doubt about that.
Yeah, and he's going up against Rampo in the round of 16. And let's talk about Rampo quickly. I've seen him twice, and the addition of Neil Quinn, the 6'10", 6'11", close to 7 foot tall senior who transferred in from Northern Highlands this year, going to Lafayette. He's what they need. I mean, he's the perfect player. I mean, again, Chris, you could use him too, I bet. But the great thing about him is, you look at his stat line and points and everything else, but the kid's a basketball player. He's not just a target, or a follow-up dunker or anything else. Like, you can put him in the high post, you can run players off him, he can set a screen, he can pass, he can make free throws, he can, not leave his feet, he can stay out of foul trouble, he can do a lot of very good athletic things for a guy his size. So, that changes the parameters and the expectations and the limitations on Rampo. It removes all of them because, when you can move Casey Hunt, you have Kyle Horancic, who can be a good point guard for you, and then depending on matchups, when you can put the ball in Casey Hunt's hands, and you have a Division I athlete who can, jump and pass and take the ball to the basket hard, and who competes every play. It's a different kind of look. And Rampo, I said it when I did their photo shoot at the beginning of the season, it's the biggest public school team that I have seen in the 20 years that I've been running NorthJerseySports.com, Richie B.
I could put three of my players standing on each other's shoulders, and they're not as big as right. Big man. I mean, I haven't seen them, but I've seen obviously video, and then and then they got the Pernetti kid who's really playing well for them this year. And like you said, you have one of the best athletes in the state of New Jersey who can come off screens, who can handle the point, who can just be the great athlete he is in Casey Hunt. So, they got a lot of really good things going on up there for sure. And I'm looking forward to seeing them because, quite honestly, with my schedule, I have not seen them yet, except in some video highlights. But certainly looking forward to that.
Yeah, Pernetti's been good, and they.
You didn't even mention John Woolley.
That's what I was going to say. It's another Division I athlete. He's going to play baseball at Villanova. He's the catch.
Right.
Yeah, so you got four, and Max Pernetti's probably going to pick up an offer. He's a junior or whatever. So, and then you have kids coming in who were a part of the team last year that won the freshman Bergen County tournament. So, Richie B, Joey Sandberg has some options when he's talking about matchups and everything else this year at Rampo.
Options, size-wise, options, depth-wise.
Right.
I mean, they've really got the whole package. It's as you said, the biggest public school that you've ever seen in 20 years at Bergen County, but also filled with athletes too.
Yeah.
It's not just guys with size, and they play well together, and they have as good of a shot as any to win this thing.
Yeah. Yep. It'd be good to see him make a deep run.
You were talking about individual talent when you brought up Jordan McCoy. Now, Richie B, I wasn't in Bergenfield yesterday, but how about Owen Roberts? You talk about a kid who is
Owen Roberts
individually one of the best players in the county.
He's one of the best players in the county by far, because not just because he could score driving to the basket. He hit 5 threes. All of them were very well defended.
Yeah.
But he has that kind of herky-jerky Larry Bird-like motion. He's a lefty, but he's just so calm and so patient, and he plays D, and he's a leader. He is everything you would want as a high school basketball coach. I mean, he really does it all. They were full-screen, never wavered. They just ran to the offense, runs off screens well. I couldn't be more impressed with Owen Roberts. Great, very good rebounder. I mean, he's had 8 25-point games already. We're midway through the season. But he's not just a scorer, and he gives, as a double-digit seed that can pull an upset. They're the one that I think could do it because mainly because of him. Because he could take over a game, and I think he could do it against anyone in the county, even the non-publics. And they face
Well,
St. Joe's.
he's going to get his shot against Smith-Vilbert, right?
Yes. Talk about a big-time Division I athlete. Smith-Vilbert is that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I saw them. Well, I saw them when they won the BIT final last year over Northern Highlands. And Smith-Vilbert, is an athlete inside, but Chris Madden, is a 6'3", 6'4" swing for them, and he's another one.
Jumps out the gym.
Jumps out of the gym, good defender, and can put the ball on the floor too and get to the basket. They're a real interesting team, and they've definitely made that leap into Bergen County's upper echelon.
Well, Joe, first of all, Joe Dalbuno will be thrilled that you mentioned the BIT and how it is a proving ground for these teams, because how many times, 2 years ago, I think it was Demarest that won it, and they went on last year to win a state section. St. Joe's last year wins it. They got a chance to make a run here and be, real dangerous in non-public North A, all those things. So, and the BIT this year is loaded again with a lot of teams that didn't make the Bergen County tournament, and that should be a fun tournament to watch too. But yeah, and St. Joe's with Mike Doherty. And I don't normally cover the parochials until later on in this tournament. But I am looking forward to getting there, because you have guys like Mike Doherty who have done it at St. Joe's before. And we should mention too, I got free tickets a month ago to go see St. John's against St. Francis of Brooklyn. And, Chauncey Hawkins, the former point guard at St. Joseph Regional, was St. Francis of Brooklyn's best player on the floor. Yeah, they got whacked by St. John's, but, that was a mid-major against a high major. And good to see, so good players have come out of there before. And I don't even know where I'm going with that. I just wanted to mention that Chauncey Hawkins is doing well at the collegiate level. But, good to see St. Joe's back.
The McCoy brothers, Miles Inman, Narula Ago. I mean, they've had some great athletes, great basketball players come out of there, and a lot of those guys are also multi-sport athletes too, which is great to see in this modern day era where everybody seems to pick just one sport.
Great point.
And I'll tell you what about St. Joe's. I think, and I never said this about non-public, I think they're the most interesting team in the tournament. For the fact that
you never say that about non-public.
I don't, because you generally know what you're going to get. But with
Yes.
St. Joe's, with the bracket that they have, I could see them losing to Englewood, but I could also see them winning the Jambo.
Right.
I mean, that's how far-ranging, I think it could go. If they play at their optimum level, I could see them, being in Englewood, being the team at Tabasco. But again, same thing. Can they put it together for 32 minutes and not just stretches of 4 or 5 minutes, here and there. I think that's what makes it so interesting, because that there are not that many teams that I feel can lose in the round 16 and also win it. They're the only one, actually.
But I think it bodes well, for the tournament as a whole, that there is a team like that in there, and that the tournament is that competitive, where you think it could happen, where a team could go out in the round of 16 or win it all. So, I think it says a lot about the depth of the tournament this year overall. I mean, what are we missing? Fairlawn against Ramsey, I think, is the marquee matchup for me. Fairlawn, again, when I saw them early in the year, it's like they're kind of, I don't want to say interchangeable parts, because they have a lot of kids who, they're similar in height. They're kind of big. They're not huge. They're kind of quick. They're not, but all of them have a skill set where they pass the ball well, they share the ball well, they play well as a team, they make free throws. They have some mental toughness. I think Kyle Sabella does a great job of because when I talk to that guy, when I talk to Kyle Sabella after a post-game interview, win or lose, when I walk out of there, I always say to myself, like, that guy really cares about his team. And I think, the leadership comes from the top, and I think those kids know that, and I think they work together. And I think they're very dangerous. But again, Richie B, I think, wouldn't it be, I would love to see what Fairlawn could do against Bergen Catholic. I think maybe they could hang in the game. But, Ramsey, they could lose that game too. And Ramsey could go give Bergen Catholic a run for its money. Ramsey is a defending state sectional champion who has won a lot of games.
Right. Yeah. Right, exactly. I think you could say the same thing. I think you different teams, but you can say the same things about both of them.
Yeah.
As far as, what they could do moving forward against, say, a Bergen Catholic. But that's not the most interesting matchup to me in the round 16. The most interesting matchup is Saddle River Day Westwood. Saddle River Day is the only undefeated team in the county. They're sitting at, I believe, 16-0 right now. But the one thing about they've been, dominating their opponents in their division. But their only close game this year was against Westwood, and they were down 8 going into the fourth quarter. Ended up pulling out a 53-52 victory. Meanwhile, Westwood has been in a bunch of close games this year. I mean,
Westwood's gonna fight you. John Michael Santulli, their head coach. Again, if it rubs off from the top, then he's a hard nosed coach, and those are hard nosed kids, and they always have a friggin' tight end that can run the floor and just be like Ram Man running through the lane there and making things difficult.
We lost to them by 2 the other night, and you're exactly right. The kid Steven Rydell, he's a big kid inside. He has great low post moves, and they just, like I said earlier, they play great team defense, and they might not score a ton of points, but they're in every game because they do exactly what Coach Santulli asks of them, and they're just hard-nosed, tough kids. And, you could see a lot. I said to Coach earlier in the year, you could see that his team had gotten in the weight room, and from last year, a lot of those kids are returning players who put on some size and some strength, and I'm sure it's added and helped them in a lot of these close games that they're in.
And much like a boxing fight, contrasting styles make great fights, and it's the same on the basketball court. Saddle River Day is going to want to get up and down and shoot a lot of threes and try to make it a track meet, and Westwood is going to try to use that muscle and use that size to their advantage to slow the game down and make it more of a pickup game in the park. But
listen,
like
if you guys are giving kudos out. Dumont, first time in the Jamboree since 2002. Coach Kenny Mortarall and his squad, the kid John Akeo, who I think is his best player, is a very, very good guard. And they have a whole bunch of seniors who all started varsity as sophomores, and they got beat up for a year. And then last year they got better. And then unfortunately they got sick last year, a couple of games leading up to the Jamboree, and they didn't qualify. They're a story that, like for my team, for example, I'm playing a lot of sophomores. That's a team that you want to look at and say, hey, this is what the future could hold if you keep working hard. Dumont is, in my opinion, is one of the best stories in the county, led by, again, a good guy who works his team really hard.
Yeah, and I know him, 2 decades, going back to his days as an assistant at North Bergen, and he's passionate, he cares, he's a grinder, and he's a basketball guy. Like he's not a, there are a fair share of basketball coaches that they say we're going to play our style, win or lose. That's just how we do it, and Ken's not afraid to make adjustments, and he knew when he got to do my job that it was going to be a grind. They've steadily improved, and now they're a 9th seed in the Jambo, and that's going to be a great game against Richwood.
Their sophomore big guy. Here's a kid that was at St. Joe's last year as a freshman. He was 5'10", 5'11". He leaves St. Joe's. He grows 4 inches. He's about 6'4", and he's a problem. He's definitely a problem now, and he's a problem going forward. I can't recall his name offhand, but
I got it for you. I got it. It's Dominic Barlow, and Richie B. would love Dominic Barlow because Richie B loves I don't want to say trash talker, but Richie B loves a trash talker. And Dominic Barlow, when I covered them, it was the night they needed, Pascal Kills needed the win to solidify a spot in the Jambo. I hadn't seen Dumont, and I went, I don't think I've been to, it's funny, I don't think I have been to a Dumont boys basketball game since like 2002, the last time they made the Jamboree. I went back there, and, I was looking at the old banners, and believe me, it sucks being this old now where you remember this stuff, but you see like 2002 up on the banner, and I remember covering Jerry Pegram, who was the last great right, the last great player at Dumont, who went on to play at Army West Point, a great kid, and was a really stand-up kid and whatever else. So I went to Dumont, and I felt really good about it because I was like, they're a great story, and Pascal Kills is trying to play their way in. And I interviewed Dominic Barlow after the game, and I said, he's like, Coach lets me do what he gives me some confidence, and he gives me some leeway to do the things that I want to do and everything else. He said, does he help you with your trash talk? He goes, nope, I do that all by myself. Because he had some choice words, and he was fun. And that's what, it looked like Dumont was having a good time while they were winning that game 57-50 over Pascack Hills. And, like you said, Chris, they got sick. They were 7-2 last year, and they got hit by the flu, and they went 2-7. So, in the next 9 games after that, and it really, so it's good to see that they were able to stay healthy, get in the Jamboree, and whatever happens, they're going to remember this forever, because as you said, this class built this. They got in. They didn't even have to play a play-in game, and they're going to go against Group 4 Ridgewood in the Bergen County Tournament round of 16. Well-deserved and a great story for Dumont. I don't know. What else am I missing? I think we've talked about every game. I mean, Bergen Tech is a great story. Unfortunately,
Bergen Tech, one of the best backcourts in Bergen County. Iviabucci and Mark Martinez, I mean, they're two guys that can both go off for 25-30 against just about anyone, but size is going to be a problem, and they're playing Bergen Catholic with, Zach Fremantle and Matt Zona, both at 6'9". That's going to be a matchup problem, but I think, the backcourt is not going to be intimidated, and Bergen Catholic is just going to wear them out inside. But I'd like to see how Martinez and Iviabucci do against Bergen Catholic's backcourt, which I actually think is underrated and doesn't get the publicity that it should.
Yeah. Go ahead, Chris.
How about Mawa Tinek? I mean, Mawa, their sophomore guard, the kid Nikki Pelatikian, I think that kid is very good. And obviously, the kid Cormac Henriquez,
yes,
had some big shots in his career. I think Mawa Tinek, Mawa could stay in the game for a while, I'm sure, and they shoot a ton of threes. And if they're on fire, anything's possible. Like you, Corey, I haven't seen Tinek. I've heard really great things about the freshman. I think his name is Jalen LeCue.
Yeah.
But I think that, that's obviously going to be two teams that are going to get up and down, which I don't think a lot of people would expect that. But that's Mawa's style, at least for the most part, is pushing the rock and shooting the three. And like I said, their sophomore point guard, Pelatikian, very good. And they got some other guys, just nice size, 6'1", 6'2", guys that can either shoot the three or hit the mid-range jumper. And, anything's possible with them as well.
Yes.
I think in that type of game, depth will be a huge factor. I could see both teams getting into foul trouble, and your 7th, 8th, 9th guys are probably going to be, getting on the floor, playing bigger minutes. So I think that game is going to come down to bench play, and we'll see how it plays out. But I can't wait for this weekend.
I am very excited about this weekend, too. I am going to be back on the Jambo beat. I am going to do my best to hustle and get to as many games as I can on the same day, splitting locations between Northern Highlands and Tenafly. But I will do my best to make proper use of the time that I do have and eliminate, travel time and everything else. So I'm going to get to as many games as I can. I'm going to get some audio. I'm going to talk to some people. I'm going to invite some people on the show for next week, and we will keep on moving here. We had Chris Gaskin, Richfield Park's own Chris Gaskin tonight. Richie B here on the Ballgame talking about the Jambo. Tomorrow night, Monday night, we're going to tape the girls basketball program with, again, Richfield Park's own Scott Papetti. So it's all Scarlets all the time here, Chris. But I think, because you're on the phone.
He's repping the T-Birds in the winter, though. Come on.
It's true. But, and while we have you on the phone here, and you're the guy who's on the other end of the line here, Richie B, I think it's safe to say we like Chris Gaskin better. Is that true?
I mean, honestly, it depends on the day. Sometimes I hear from Gaskin all the time. Other times he just disappears for weeks at a time. What kind of friend is that?
You only like me when I meet you at FanDuel for lunch.
That's going on the cutting board, too.
We'll see you next week on the Ballgame.
Follow the leader.